I sat at the table, grasping the glass with both hands and absent-mindedly turning it in my hands, trying to control my anger. I was looking forward to meeting my longtime friend, Kelly Simpson. We were friends since first grade and were closer than sisters. My husband, Todd Forrest, had cheated on me, and I wanted Kelly to help me understand why. Kelly and I have been friends since first grade. Our teacher divided the class so that each student had a partner. We were assigned to paint a picture together. While discussing what kind of picture we would paint, we learned that we both have the same favorite color, green. We also learned that we both love unicorns. So the decision about what we would draw turned out to be simple. We drew a green unicorn. From that day on, we became the closest of friends. We had each other's backs and didn't let anyone bother us without the other one jumping into a fight. On one particular occasion, Kelly and I worked together to beat up Bobby Samuels, the class bully. After that day, he didn't bother anyone anymore. And from that day on, Kelly and I became popular. Years passed, and our friendship grew stronger. In 8th grade, we had our first date. It was a double date with two guys whose names I've long forgotten. In high school, we both remained popular. We were both on the cheerleading squad, and we were both good students. When it came time to go to college, we were both accepted into Vanderbilt University. And yes, we were roommates for 4 years. During our first 3 years of college, we excelled academically, but also had a lot of fun. We went on dates often and slept with several guys. But by the 4th year, the parties had lost their novelty, and disposable bed pleasures even more so. Both Kelly and I began to spend more time studying and significantly less time partying. During the first semester of our senior year, Kelly began a very serious relationship with a guy named Todd Forrest. Yes, with the same man who is now my husband. However, after 4 months of dating, Kelly became interested in a certain football player and broke up with Todd. Todd was very upset when Kelly rejected him to go after Jock, as we came to call him after that. Both Kelly and I dated Todd, but I was disappointed when he chose my best friend over me. But then Kelly opened the door and started dating Jock. It was a gift I never expected to receive. Little by little, I began to fit into Todd's life. I started by just being a shoulder to cry on. Then we started meeting once a week for a cup of coffee. From time to time, this turned into lunch. Finally, he asked me out on a date. And that one date led to more, and a month before graduation, Todd asked me to marry him. I was incredibly happy, and we got married 3 months after graduating from college. And for the first 5 years, our life was ideal. At least it seemed so to me. But then, everything in the house gradually began to change. Until one day I came home early and found my husband in bed with another woman. "How are you, Carol?" Kelly asked, sitting down opposite me. We ordered drinks and sat staring at each other. Finally, I asked, "Why?" "Why did your husband cheat on you?" Kelly asked. I took a sip and shook my head. "No. Why did you cheat on me with my husband? You and I have been closer than sisters all our lives. Why did you do this to me?" Kelly twirled her glass a few times before looking at me expressionlessly. "I guess you know why." "I know you've always been longing for Todd," I replied. "Damn it, you were in an exclusive relationship with him before me, but you left him. Was he just a one-time thing? Did Todd blackmail you or something?" "Yes, I always loved Todd, and I answer no to both questions." Kelly seemed to have no remorse, and it was killing me. "Kelly, as for Todd, for me he is already history. I have already contacted a lawyer and am planning to divorce him. However, I can't lose you as a friend. Please tell me there is some reason why you betrayed me." "Carol, do you remember how I broke up with Todd to chase that stupid Jock? You're not going to justify your betrayal by saying that Todd and I started dating after you left him?" "No, I won't," Kelly said with an expression that looked like anger. Why would she be mad at me? "No, I'm not saying that. I was the one who pushed Todd away and went after someone I thought I was in love with. But the more I was with that stupid football player, the more I realized that the man I really loved was Todd. But when I finally left the athlete, I discovered that you and Todd had fallen in love. I was so unhappy that I couldn't even describe how I felt. but I saw how happy you were together, and I swore that I would never come between you." Kelly fell silent and continued to look at me. I was completely confused by what she had told me so far and how she had behaved. If Kelly really cared so much about me, then why did she cheat on me with my husband? Kelly had to know that this was the biggest betrayal she could ever make against our friendship. However, I didn't want to lose her and looked for any excuse to forgive. "If you think so, then why in the name of all that is holy did you have an affair with Todd?" Kelly took another sip and set the glass down. "Remember what I told you and Todd when you got married?" "Yes, you were very happy for us," I answered, shrugging. "I also told you and Todd that I truly love you both," Kelly said, blushing. "And I asked you both to promise me that you would be faithful to each other. And when you both agreed, I told you that I considered this promise the same as your wedding vows. If any of you break this promise, I will kick their ass." "Obviously, Todd didn't keep his promise," I said and added, "but why did you betray me?" "Carol, do you know what I do for a living? You are an FBI agent." "So what?" "So, about 3 months ago, I ran into Todd at the federal building and he invited me to lunch. Of course, I asked him how you guys were. He said he doesn't know because you're acting a little strange. He was wondering if you were cheating on him. I assured him that my best friend would never cheat on him." Kelly downed the rest of her drink and slammed her glass on the table, loud enough to make several people look in our direction. "I can finally tell you that 4 months ago we began surveillance of your boss on suspicion of defrauding the federal government. He has defense contracts worth tens of millions of dollars. He was suspected of double billing, shortening the supply of ammunition, and using substandard parts. Imagine my surprise at what I heard from the wiretapping of his phones and hidden microphones in his house. There, clear as a bell, I heard how my old friend, a woman who married the man I love, was cheating on him. And then I heard my sweet friend tell her lover that she was going to divorce her husband and run away with this scumbag. I believe you guys were planning to leave the United States this Friday. I'm afraid this trip will be postponed, perhaps forever. Your boss is being taken into custody right now." My heart began to beat wildly in my chest and I felt weak. Kelly nailed me. Yes, I was going to divorce Todd and run away with Jason Witten, my boss. Jason has such a magnetic personality, and he turned my head. I knew what he was doing was wrong, but all I wanted was to run away with him and live happily ever after. So, when I discovered you were cheating on Todd with that piece of shit, Kelly said through gritted teeth, my first instinct was to beat the crap out of you. But then I decided that I didn't want to go to jail because of someone like you. I couldn't tell Todd what I had learned due to the ongoing investigation, so I asked him to let me do a little research. I asked him not to tell you anything until I knew for sure what was going on. He readily agreed because he really wanted to believe that you weren't cheating on him. But little by little, I began to hint at your infidelity. You and your boss were being followed. I told Todd that you were seen hanging out at this or that restaurant. And of course, you played into my hands by moving further and further away from your husband. You probably didn't notice that you and Todd haven't had sex in almost 3 months. You probably didn't notice it because your asshole boss was ramming your private part. Kelly paused for a moment and took a sip from the second glass the waitress had just brought. Finally, it became abundantly clear to Todd that you were cheating on him. From here, it was not so difficult to rekindle our love. But then he almost ruined the investigation. He wanted to meet you and your boss. Eventually, I convinced him that I had a better plan. And that is why you found your husband making such tender love to me in your marital bed. I knew you were going to divorce Todd, but now he'll be the one taking care of the job for you. And in case you're wondering, I've been sleeping with Todd for about 6 weeks now. Last night, he asked me to marry him as soon as he was free from you. And I promise you, Carol, I will never become such a slut like you. At this moment, I was sobbing uncontrollably. Then I saw Todd approach the table. He didn't even pay attention to me. Instead, he kissed Kelly passionately. A few seconds later, 2 men in business suits approached the table. "Carol Forrest, please stand up," one of the men said. "You are under arrest for fraud. You have the right to remain silent. If you waive your right to remain silent, anything you say may be used against you in court. You have the right to a lawyer. If you can't afford it, They will provide it for you. Do you understand your rights?" I nodded. I was numb with shock, not understanding how the wonderful life I had planned had collapsed before my eyes. When 2 FBI agents started to lead me away, Kelly stopped them. She stood in front of me and looked me straight in the eyes. "To avoid any misunderstandings," Kelly said, "we are no longer friends. As far as I'm concerned, you're finished." My legs began to give way and I lost control of my bladder. I cried sadly, not only because of the arrest, but also because of the loss of my lifelong friend. I looked back at Kelly and Todd, who were hugging. I realized that I had not only cheated on Todd, but also on Kelly. Todd might someday forgive me, but I knew for sure that Kelly, my only best friend in the world, would never forgive me. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.